If they held a vote in the full House and the vote were to authorize, would you cooperate?
Well, we would if they give us our rights.
I do think that it's time for us to put a vote on the floor, a resolution for the inquiry. They want to fight, okay, then let us arm ourselves completely and totally with the full power of Congress.
President Trump and Democrat John Garamendi weigh in on whether the House should formally vote to start the impeachment inquiry. I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin of the Foreign Affairs Committee and Democratic Congressman Jim Himes of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Himes, let's start with you. We heard from Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, somebody who testified or talked to your committee, despite the fact that the White House and the administration had ordered her not to do so. Tell us, how important is she to this inquiry?
Well, she's very important to one of the parts of this inquiry. Of course, apart from the president holding up aid to Ukraine, expecting to get a commitment that there would be an investigation of his political opponent, the moving of that transcript to the secret server. The third piece of this that is deeply concerning is a United States ambassador who, mere weeks after she was asked to extend her tour for a year, is then summarily told to get on the next plane back to Washington and removed from her post for what appears to be Giuliani's effort with his various minions to achieve whatever aims Giuliani was trying to achieve in Ukraine. This had, of course, nothing to do with the United States foreign policy interests or national security interests. It had to do with the president's personal interests and Rudy Giuliani's interests. So she was very, very important because she is an example of abusing the American public trust in favor of narrow objectives.
Congressman, let me ask you, why is all of this happening behind closed doors? Why the secrecy? This was not a classified deposition. Why not do this out in the open?
Well, so first of all transcripts will eventually be scrubbed for classified information and made available for the American public to see. But there's two reasons why these depositions are happening behind closed doors. One reason is that when you're talking to ambassadors and other U.S. government officials who have regularly had access to classified information, you need to be able to talk about that information and then go back and say, hey, this conversation has to be redacted because it involves classified information. That's the most important reason. The second reason for this is that when you're interviewing people who are around the president, political supporters of the president, you don't want them to be able to look at each other's testimony in order to coordinate testimony. These are a group of people who have shown that they have no problem whatsoever lying if they think it serves their interest. And so you don't want to give them the opportunity to look at what they are saying and therefore coordinate their stories.
But this is an impeachment inquiry. There's so much at stake here. Why shouldn't the president, why shouldn't the White House have a representative in there able to cross-examine these witnesses?
Well, John, that's not the way this process works, right? And I understand that's the Republican line. Because they can't defend the president's behavior and won't defend the president's behavior, they're trying to throw up all this procedural stuff. The reality is that what happens in the House is akin to an indictment, right? The trial happens in the Senate, and in the Senate there are opposing parties with the right to cross-examine witnesses. The Supreme Court Chief Justice presides over that trial-like proceeding. Impeachment is more akin to a grand jury indictment, and in a grand jury indictment, it happens behind closed doors. There aren't cross-examinations. Evidence is presented. So the question you're asking is what the Republicans are incorrectly saying should be occurring. The trial happens in the Senate.
But Congressman, this much is entirely true in that in the previous impeachment inquiries with Richard Nixon, with Bill Clinton, the House did hold a vote. There were rights that were afforded to the president's side and to the minority party. Why don't you go forward and hold a vote to formally launch this impeachment inquiry and get the entire House on the record?
Yeah, and we may. Remember, again, there's no requirement that occur. The Republicans sort of want people to believe that that's true. Well, twice in our history when we've actually had impeachment inquiries.
3 times if you count
we've
Johnson.
done impeachment if, okay. We've regularly impeached federal judges, impeached other officials without a vote on the floor. I don't much care about the vote on the floor. Look, if there is a vote on the floor, I'll vote for it. The point is that it's not required under the rules, and there is absolutely no right being denied to the Republicans. When we interviewed the ambassador and interview anybody else, the Republicans get exactly equal time to ask their questions. Their counsel asks the questions. And if there is a trial in the Senate, they will be afforded all of the other due process that they have and will always be entitled to. So this idea that the process is somehow not fair is just a fiction designed to avoid the question of whether the conduct of the president is good or not.
Just to be clear before you go, so you would be okay seeing a formal vote on the floor of the House?
I would be okay seeing a formal look. My own opinion is we ought to just take this off the table because it's such a non-issue. And there's no doubt in my mind that, of course, if Nancy Pelosi does that she will have the votes and that will pass.
All right.
But it's not required.
Congressman Himes, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. So
thank you, John.
Congressman Zeldin, let me get to you. A lot of your Republican colleagues have had a hard time answering a very simple question. Do you believe that it was appropriate for President Trump to ask the president of Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden? Do you think that was an appropriate request?
I absolutely believe that our countries should be working together to get to the bottom of what happened, whether it's Burisma, it's Joe Biden, it's Zlochevsky, it's Hunter Biden, that there shouldn't be a immunity from scrutiny just because Joe Biden is running for president.
Well, we're not talking about an immunity of scrutiny. So would you ask a foreign leader to investigate one of your political opponents?
Well, you have to understand here in this particular, I haven't, but in this particular case, the threshold question is, what did Burisma, Zlochevsky, Joe Biden, and Hunter Biden do? And in this case, I have a huge issue with the fact that Hunter Biden, with no energy experience, with no Ukraine experience, gets paid at least $50,000 a month from a corrupt company run by a corrupt oligarch solely because he is the vice president's son. The vice president, who literally was the most conflicted guy out in the Obama administration.
And this issue has been raised. It was raised before the president brought it up. But again, it's about the president going to a foreign leader and asking him to investigate a rival.
There is, I am also, just like President Trump, I am greatly concerned by that arrangement. It is either illegal or it should be illegal what they did. We might have a policy conversation.
Is the president's request of great concern?
No, I believe that we should be working together, our governments, with regards to these allegations, with regards to Burisma, which has been corrupt for a long time, with regards to this oligarch, with the fact that they would hire Hunter Biden, the fact that Joe Biden would be selected to run point, be in charge of the grants to Ukraine, be in charge of the loans, and so much more, and then go to Ukraine and threaten to withhold $1 billion from Ukraine unless they immediately fire the state prosecutor, who, by the way, happened to be investigating Burisma and Zlochevsky. By the way, those are all facts. There are people out in the media saying it's been debunked, it's not true. Everything I just said is 100% accurate. I have a problem with that as well.
Well, let me ask you about the former ambassador. Did you find her to be to Ukraine? Did you find her to be a credible witness?
Sure, and I wish that over the course, I mean, there's some issues where she contradicted herself during her testimony. I believe that every single word in real time should have been in front of the American public so that you knew exactly everything that she said. Instead,
so you're okay with all the transcripts coming out? You want to see Fiona Hill, who's testifying next week? You want to see all the people that the administration does not want to testify. You want those transcripts.
No, the president wants there to be a process. The president is saying that there should be a vote for an impeachment inquiry. As you just pointed out with Congressman Himes, there should be a process. The minority party should have subpoena power. The president should have counsel present. He should be able to cross-examine witnesses. He should be able to present evidence. There should be a process. But instead, what Adam Schiff wants is to get United States of America drunk on his favorite cocktail. There's 3 ingredients. 1 is cherry-picking leaks. 2nd is withholding facts, and 3 is just outright lying. I mean, he lied about his whistleblower contact. He lied when he gave his opening statement in front of the acting director of national intelligence. He lied when he said that President Trump requests President Zelensky to, quote, manufacture dirt. Now, if we all had Ambassador Volker's testimony, we would know that that's not true. We would also know that it obliterated the quid pro quo charge, that fairy tale that President Trump supposedly demanded that there would be an investigation open against the Bidens in order to get aid from the United States to Ukraine.
It's clear that he brought this up exactly when the issue of aid to Ukraine was raised.
This is what Ambassador Volker's transcript would show you, substantively.
Let me just ask you, the president says that was a perfect phone call. You think that was a perfect phone call?
I think that there was a lot of really important, great things that were discussed in that call.
Do you think that was a perfect phone call?
I believe that conversation, the only thing that's being criticized, which, by the way, definitely isn't impeachable conduct, the fact that we are tearing the country in half, trying to bring down a sitting president because we've pledged, it's many in the House to resist, oppose, impeach, and obstruct everything and anything.
All right.
I have a problem with that. We should be passing USMCA. We should be lowering the cost of prescription drug prices.
Congressman, unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you for joining us here.
Happy to be with you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.